Okay, now we're going to start this right now. This is the World War II history of Leslie Irving Slack. Okay, the first thing we need to know is from the very beginning, like, how old were you when you were drafted, or did you join up, or how did you get in the, and what date was it?
I was in the first draft of Manzanita County. I was 21 years old, first draft from this county, and was drafted and went to Houston.
Okay, what was the date?
February the 12th, 1941.
41, okay.
1920.
So what'd you do in Houston when you got
there?
Well,
they were processed. We were processed there and put on a passenger train that evening, and we left and went to Camp Bowie, Texas, Brownwood, Texas.
Now this was Army.
Yeah, that was Army.
And how did you decide, like, how did you know what you were going to do, like infantry or?
I had no choice. They just draft you and put you in what they want you.
And what they put you in?
Put me in 144th Infantry. I was drafted and put in the primary training for the 144th Infantry.
Okay. So tell us some stories about your basic training and some of that. Do you remember much about that, or did more?
Very well. You never forget it.
Okay.
I was after I got there, we got to Brownwood the next morning at 6 o'clock, and they unloaded us out of the and took us to Camp Bowie, which was a huge base camp for the 36th Infantry Division, and it had four infantry regiments: 141st, 142nd, 143rd, and 144th. And they fed us. We got off the train, and they gave us their shots. They took a physical examination, and that evening late they went to giving us our closed preliminary training. Went to work on our basic training.
Now, was that physical, like, and marching and all?
Right. They started giving us the basic training on, after give us our physical examinations and shots, and went to making soldiers out of the way because they knew they were going to need us.
Well, like, how many people did they group you, and were you with those people throughout the war?
No, you were divided up into training platoons and supervised by drill instructors, and they went to work on you. You thought you would never see home again when they got through.
Okay, so how long did you stay at Camp Bowie?
Well, after I joined after they give us our basic training, they divided us up and sent us to all the regiments, most of them to the 144th Infantry. And I was sent to B Company, 144th Infantry, and stayed there at Camp Bowie with it till we left. And of course, for 3.5 years, I was in the 144th Infantry.
Okay, so where did they send you when you left Camp Bowie?
Let me say this. We went to Louisiana maneuvers, we stayed with it, and in the fall of the years, in about latter July, they shipped us, or we marched almost all the way to Mansfield, Louisiana. And we got there, they didn't have trucks to carry us in, we had to march. That's how unprepared we were. So we got there, and they'd try to shuttle us. They had some old trucks. It must have been 1918. But they shuttled us one day, and then we'd march the next day. And so we finally got there, but the Louisiana maneuvers put the final touch on as far as field soldiers. That was pretty rough. 1941, General Patton came there with his 2nd Armored Division, in Georgia, and all of us down there, and we had the largest peacetime maneuvers ever been held. I believe they said there's over around a million men. At that time, it run all the way from where they didn't have Toledo Bend down lake there then, and they moved all over that country with troops anywhere you went, Louisiana. Anywhere you went. They were building Camp Polk at that time, just building it. But they would march us day and night in the maneuvers. and we just give you 1 quart of water from morning to noon, and noon you got another quart of water. You had to do it had to do you.
So they were like toughening y'all
Yeah,
up.
and it didn't no matter how thirsty you got, you had to make it out. In the water they put purification. You got your water out of a Lister bag. You see, it was purified in a Lister bag. In case you don't know what a Lister bag is, a bag that hangs on a tripod. They put the water in, they purify it in there, and each soldier has to get his own water out of there. And it was a lot of real hard, tough training. So when they moved us back out of Louisiana, our last problem was up close to Shreveport, and they loaded us in trucks and carried us back to Camp Bowie. About the first of about the latter part of September. We had lived in the field all the time. Pup tents at night. If we had time, we put down pup tents and lived in pup tents. And I hadn't slept on I don't believe I slept on any kind of a mattress. July was the last time I slept on a mattress. And when I got back to Camp Bowie, I couldn't sleep on a mattress. I'd get out on the front of my tent and put down a mattress, sleep on that. I was too uncomfortable to sleep in a mattress. That's how tough we were, see? Well, and go on with the story. We stayed there, and then we were picked. Our battalion was picked as a model Army battalion. They took us to the State Fair, Texas, to the state fair, and they've used us as demonstrators and instructors on all the weapons in the display of the state fair.
What kind of rifles did you have? What kind of?
We didn't have anything. I believe we might have had the M1 rifle. I'm not sure.
Did you have
sure.
grenades?
We had the M1 rifle. Just got the M1 rifle, and they didn't own all big water-cooled machine guns and light machine guns and mortars, 60 millimeter mortars and 81 mortars and all that sort of thing. That's all we had. But that's all they took. They just took our battalion up there and our band. They took the 144th Infantry Band, and we paraded before the Texas-Oklahoma football game. And I'm just taking things that come to my mind.
Okay.
So after they got through that, we came back to Camp Bowie. After they got through with us there, they came back to Camp Bowie, and we said, "Oh, what are we going to do now? I'm going to need a furlough." We got one. About that time, that was on December the 7th, the Japanese struck Pearl Harbor. We got a furlough, all right. I was looking for it. I had my year up. See, back then I was drafted for 1 year. You're drafted for 1 year, and for $21 a month the first 4 months. That's what I got, $21 a month. And I made corporal. About that time, and I got $56 a month.
Got a raise.
And so Pearl Harbor happened, and so, but the day before Pearl Harbor, I said, "Boy, we're gonna get a pass." So they gave me a pass, and about 6 of us soldiers got. One of them had a car, and 6 of us got in a car and went to San Angelo. Boy, I was gonna get to see some country. I got out to San Angelo, and we got out there, and we went out there and drank beer and have a good time. And we got out there and did that night and went to bed. And the next morning, we had a radio. I've never seen one like it since. I had a radio that you put a nickel in and play, a big cabinet radio, you know, in a room. And I put that nickel on. That was a fatal mistake because they told us that the Japanese had struck Pearl Harbor, and for all troops to get to your unit immediately.
So you just didn't go AWOL.
So we went and bought us a couple of cases of beer and got in that old car, and here we went. That was real good. And so we got back to Camp Bowie, and that was on the 7th and the 8th morning of the 9th, they done had our train packed. We had everything packed and our vehicles all loaded on fat cars, and we got on a train and headed for the West Coast. We didn't know where we were going. Well, it was on I believe it was on December the 17th. I'm not right sure on that date. But we got to Fort Lewis, Washington. And we got up there, and they weren't prepared for us, and we got up there, and it was cold and wet, and we had to make the best of things and just do what we could. And the next morning, they loaded up us trucks. Some went to the beaches around Seattle. Some went to the beaches all down the West Coast. And some of them went even went to Northern California. But our unit went to the beaches around the mouth of the Columbia River, Seaside, Oregon, and Camp Clatsop. Camp Clatsop was a Army National Guard camp in peacetime, so they put us out there. That's where our base camp, but we guarded that whole beach from the mouth of the Columbia River. And you talk about cold, there we had been in Louisiana in the hot and sweat. We got out there, and boy, it freezed the hair off a dog's back.
They thought maybe the Japanese were fixing to attack.
They didn't know it was scary. Everybody was jerky. Everybody was scared to death, and they didn't know what. And the Japanese had known it, they would attack there, and they did. That's the only place later on that we'd left that the Japanese surfaced a submarine and fired on the town of Seaton. Not many people know that. A lot of other little things they did that most people don't know about. But that's what they did. They sent balloons. They sent balloons over there with explosives in them. There's some kids killed 5 children in one place.
Yeah, in the United States?
Yes, they sure did. They'd service a submarine and send them balloons out at night, so they'd go to the Oregon, and they would explode out there whenever they hit the ground.
Well, how long did you have to stay there? Did you stay long enough to meet Aunt Lavina there?
Yeah, and when I come back so that we stayed, you couldn't stand just too much of it. You see, you walk guard all the time. You get where you just crazy. You had to stay awake. But that's when they brought us back for rest at the docks. First they put us in the empty warehouse there on the docks in Longview, Washington. And then they moved us up in OCC camp. Well, that's where I met Lavina whenever they were having a recreational dance up there at this ladies club, and went up there, and that's where I met Lavina.
Now, what town was that?
Longview, Washington.
Longview.
Yeah, Longview, Washington.
Was she like in the
CC
USO?
camp was right there, just a few blocks of town.
Oh.
And they had we had quite a time with discipline there. But a lot of the guys would get up there and get to drinking, and they could take, so it caused we had a lot of internal strife in the company after that, because a lot of fellas just wouldn't, they just needed discipline. So we took care of that. That's where I met Lavina. Then from there, it must have been in April. They loaded us up.
Is that 42?
That's 43 now. That's 42. 43, I believe. 43.
Okay.
43, they moved us to San Francisco, San Francisco Bay Area. Then we thought sure we were going to the Southwest Pacific, but we didn't. They were still going to use us as troops on those posts. San Francisco had nine Coast Artillery posts around it. Fort Baker, Fort Turncock. Well, I used to know the name of them. They had Coast Artillery guns. You could draw down the barrel of them, and they had to have all the infantry to protect them. So we stayed there. We went down there and stayed there till I don't know. I've forgotten how many months it was now. Then they loaded us up and shipped us to South Carolina. We traveled, I forget how many days we was on a troop train going from San Francisco to South Carolina. And so my unit there, I wound up at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Some of the units went to, the 144th was spread out again. It went from Virginia to Florida. We had all kind of areas down there. They didn't know when the Germans would slip men off these submarines in there. See, they caught one down there, you know.
In the United States?
Yeah, they caught there's 6 or 7. They caught them Germans. They serviced out there and let them loose. And I forget where up there in Virginia somewhere they caught them. It's a story about it.
What were they letting them out for? Just to
They
spy?
were saboteurs and spies. They shot them. That one time that they as soon as they caught them, they shot them.
Well, now why were the Germans spying on us? We weren't involved.
They were saboteurs. They were going to blow up stuff, I think.
Okay, but we were already at war with Japan, so that just automatically meant that we were at war with Germany.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Sure,
by then Hitler.
that just put the cream on the cake for us, more or less, because they didn't know exactly what to do. We wanted to help them. We hadn't declared war on England or nothing, but that put it to work. Then they went to making B-17s like crazy, and making tanks by the thousands, and they went to work because they knew we were going to have to fight.
So after you were in South Carolina, where did you go?
I went up to South Carolina. We stayed there, I forget how long, but it was in about the latter part of '43. They shipped us to Mississippi, Van Dorn, Mississippi, of all places. That was the bottom of the pit when they shipped us down there. You know. That was nothing else to do but to hope you could leave.
Yeah.
That was combat before the next thing.
There with all the mosquitoes and...
Yeah, people down there. It was just blah blah.
Yeah.
And I never did leave the base after I got down there. Never did leave. Just hoping and waiting to get orders to move, and they did. They took the regiment. They took our regiment. They take 700 today and 700 tomorrow. You're going to Pacific. 700 today. Going to till they broke us up and didn't leave anything but a cadre. Of course, they give us
What's a cadre?
Cadre, the training cadre. Train some they give us a new physical, your record. They go over your record and anything that you didn't make into it. Had you went through it or done it, if it wasn't on that record, they made you do it. It's like crawling through a machine gun fire and all that. I run it 3 times before they got my record straight. Things of that nature. If you haven't run all that obstacle course or this or that, but if it's on your record, I forget what the number of that record is. So I left there. I left Van Dorn, Mississippi, and went to Fort Meade, Maryland. Well, I got up there and they couldn't get my records, and I run that obstacle course again. And I run onto that machine gun fire, and I crawled through mud holes and barbed wire. When I got up there, I just took my old clothes and threw them away. You know? And I told him, I really disgusted with that. Well, Sergeant Southern, they're supposed to put that on my record, you know. They didn't. And then up there, they kind of orientated you going overseas. Fort Meade. I believe Fort Meade was named after an old Union general. The Civil War. Anyway, they got up there and they orientated with the German soldier, pretty much. They put men in German uniforms. Be having an election and be a bunch of Germans come out across there and you know see what your reaction would be and all that kind of stuff. And they learned us how to go up and get a German how to strangle him to death and all that sort of thing, and how to hit him upside the head, kill him at easy pace to kill a man, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Where is the?
Kind of like commando training. That's at Fort Meade.
Yeah. Where is the easiest place to kill a man? Do you remember?
Oh, up here, right up here. You can hit him
With a rifle butt or something?
No, just with the side of your hand. You can hit him right here and kill him.
Oh. See, I don't know about all this combat
And I've
stuff.
forgotten a lot of it. I've forgotten most of it. And then
Well,
I
sure
got
you
to
have.
England. Got to England. Well, they
Now,
brought.
wait. When did you find out you were going to England? You were in
Fort Meade.
Fort Meade.
And they just come. It was in. It was on about a few days. It was in June.
Of 43.
44.
Oh, now we're in 44.
Yeah, 44.
Okay, well that's nearly, the war's nearly over.
Well,
You only got
we're
another
getting on
year.
way down there. We're getting
Yeah.
on way down there. They was really shipping out the troops to England. They
Okay.
needed every man they'd get. So I got on the boat. Well, it was D-Day. It was just a few days after D-Day, see? I got to see it on that. I went to New York City and I got to see it on that printout on that Times Square. All that. That's the only time I ever that. You know, I had chances to go see Oklahoma stage shows and all that. I didn't go. I didn't. To hell with it, you know.
Why didn't you?
I was a slack. I didn't. Couldn't help it. I wouldn't care.
You weren't
I
culturally.
was ready to go into battle, and I wanted to go on and get it over with, and I didn't care nothing about nothing like that. They come around. I got so many tickets to go see Oklahoma. Any volunteers? Got so many tickets to go see 42nd Street or something like that, you know. Go to New York, get a bus, furnish it, drive right up to the theater.
And you
Oh, hell no. Hell with it.
Arthur Carroll Slack.
Yeah.
So when did you go to England? When? And what did you?
I got to England about my birthday, 28th of June. See, I was way behind. I was one of the last ones to leave my regiment. See, the rest of them made the invasion.
Yeah, I was wondering because you were in it so long. Maybe it was all those times you went through the obstacle courses.
Yeah, they'd have me back there running that obstacle trying to get my record straight.
Well, I'm kind of glad they kept you out that long, though.
You see, they was just afraid they wasn't going to get my record straight.
Well, maybe that's why you're still here.
That's the way. Well, it probably is. It certainly is probably a reason. There's some reason behind it.
Well, I'm glad they didn't.
Because
get
they
you
was
records.
already bringing them KIA and back, you know, getting the word back there. It's already killed.
Yeah.
Some of the fellas that's in my squad, you know, been with they left. They took them first. They'd already made the invasion, got killed when I got there.
Okay, so you went to England. Where in England? And what did you have to do there?
I went to Liverpool. That's where I landed.
How many other? Were there just lots of Americans there?
Ooh, what you talking about? I bet on that troop ship I was on, I think it was 7,000. And we just
And how'd you get there? On a
troop ship.
troop ship?
Yeah.
Just a transport type thing?
Yeah. On the General Billy Mitchell.
On the
The
Billy
ship,
Mitchell.
its name was. It was made for a troop transport. It was, and the chow line went in there, and it went. You eat twice a day on it, and you went in, and if you eat once, you come back, and you weren't supposed to eat again. But Minnow Andrew, never seen him since. We found a little old corridor down through there. Just squeezed by. We just get our body squeezed. And we learned how to get in there. We eat it often we wanted to.
You and who? Andrew?
Andrew. His name was Androl. He was from Michigan. He was from Michigan. Never did. We went on, left the ship when we got to Liverpool, and never saw him no more.
So how long were you at Liverpool? Why were you
Well,
at
we
Liverpool?
just got to Liverpool, and they put us on these train. Put us on a train there in Liverpool, British train. And I may say they have the fastest trains I ever rode on. And it took us to Codford, England. That little bitty burg, but it was just loaded with troops and all kind of battle paraphernalia, you know. It was just loaded. So we stayed there, took some more commando training until they got ready for us. And then they took us to to Plymouth, England, which is a port on the side next to France. Plymouth is not far from Dover. And that was a place where they load you on your LCIs.
That's those boats that have the front that
No,
falls
this
in?
wasn't like that. You just walk down the stairs to it. It was a side. It's got stairs on each side. It's just like you just walk down that.
Walk down into the boat from dock. Okay, so then
I don't remember riding on one of them things. Can't remember it. I remember a boy shot it, committed suicide there just as I went to get down. Took a rifle, blowed his head off.
because he just didn't want to go.
Yep.
He just knew what he was fixing.
Yep. Then
Well, how'd you feel about that? Did you feel like you were fixing to die? Or did you even think about it?
I didn't think about it. I was just get on in there and do my job.
Yeah.
And we
Well,
got
were
in
you
there.
mad? Were you all hot and mad at Hitler and all that?
No, I've been trained to all that. I knew what I was going to do. See, I'd had 4.5 years. I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah, I know, but were you really... How did you feel about going into battle, though? Did you really feel like you were saving, like y'all had to save the United States?
I knew. I was convinced I knew what I had to do. We had to kill them. My aim was to kill everyone I'd get to.
Yeah.
And I knew it.
Yeah.
See, I knew that as well as anybody. I was very thoroughly convinced. And there's a lot of the things in it I didn't know about what was going on when I went in, but I knew that my job was to kill them. And I was a sergeant. By that time, I was a staff sergeant. And I had been orientated quite a bit in all these lectures and things, all the details of what they do, how smart the German soldier was, how good he was. Knew he would, if you captured him, what you had to do with them, because they would do anything. They would turn on you and kill you. Treacherous.
Were you, if you captured them, what were you supposed to do with them? Were you supposed to just kill them, or
No. Get them back to the compound. Get them back to the area. Get them back to the MPs. Take them back to the rear. And a lot of time, one time we captured so many of them, we just had a whole hundreds of them. You know, I've been other places where we captured lots of them at one time. Sometimes we captured one or two.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because I got to get you into what your first combat. When did you first see combat?
Well, let's go on where I got into off the landing craft. I happened to go in Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach is pretty steep. Utah Beach.
Where is Omaha Beach?
It's Normandy. There was two
France.
beaches.
You were headed to France.
I was in France. Utah Beach and Omaha Beach were the two main landing zones in Normandy. Omaha Beach is it's mind you, like steep as that roof on that house. Pretty steep. And the Germans had all their embankments up there with all them big heavy guns, see? Of course, they were all knocked out when I went in. And I went into a place where the battleship Texas had been lambasting at night, and I just remember seeing them big holes where they hit up there, and I just walked around the edge of them. I got on in there that night, and they stopped, and I didn't know where it was at, and they just said, everybody just lay down. So we just stopped, we got on up in there, and I don't know how many far it was, about a half mile. Got in there and just all laid down. And when daylight come, I woke up, and there's no glider that run into a hedgerow. All crashed up against there. And the officer in charge come around and got everybody up, and they got us going. And they told us, you know, this was a replacement depot. We wouldn't be staying there very long. And it was the officer in charge of it, one of my old officers I had back in the United States, you know. His name was Bowers, who later got killed. And so we just stayed around there a few days, and then when they got ready for us, they called our names out.
Mhm.
It says you're going to the 90th Infantry Division. You're going to be a replacement of the 90th Infantry Division. They called names out, lined us all up. So many are going over to L, B Company 358. Some was going to 357. I was going to 359. So I wound up going to L Company of 359, 90th Infantry Division. And they were that was in hedgerow country, see.
Is that like just what it says, hedges?
You bet.
We're like fences.
You bet.
Yeah.
Been there the thing about it, they've been there for centuries.
Uh-huh.
They've been there in big trees, in them, and
How'd you get over them? Or through
well,
them?
that's kind of you didn't want to go them if you could help it, because you get killed. You had to find a little getting out place somewhere in the corner. The Frenchmen would build a hedgerow around their field. They'd go a lot of fine milk cattle there.
Mm-hmm.
See, oh, that's some of the finest milk cattle there you ever seen. And that's one of the first things I noticed, all them dead cows out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I joined the 90th Division, and I joined the L Company. I was in the 1st platoon, and I think there was about 5 men left. The original, since they'd got replacements. See, an infantry company has to be, in battle, has to be replenished about once every 2 weeks. Casualties are high.
How many are in a company?
A company's about 200, a little over 200. They try to make it 250, but you never have that many.
Mm-hmm.
In a platoon, you see you have 4 squads, and you have about 35, 36, 37 men to a squad, to a platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And joined them, and so to make yourself acquainted up, and there's more boys up there. They're glad to see you, boy. The ones that slept, the ones that had a lot of combat. There I was, a sergeant, and I never had any combat. And I joined them. Boy, they was all proud to see me. Sergeant Slack. Boy, we got more fodder. So so they just as proud. They were just proud to see you. They could be. There's a feeling there. Boy, they was proud for you to be there.
Well, how long had those soldiers been in combat?
They've been in since they landed in D-Day, D+2.
Really? Some of them were still
Yeah, they
left
were
over?
combat. They jumped off. The way they did, they jumped off water up to waist deep. Their neck. They didn't have to do that. When they made the landing there, they jumped off into water over their neck. I was drowned.
Being fired on?
No, it just where they landed them, they had to get out of them craft. And they didn't get up on that beach. They just, them Navy people, they didn't want to get no closer than they had to. They just dumped you off. You had to, a lot of them, the gas mask, the only thing that saved them. The people that went in on the landing took the gas mask, you see.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a gas mask. But so many of them took the gas mask, and that's what saved them. There was a many one that went down there, drowned.
What a waste.
And so many of them went down. They thought they had this tank. They had a tank that they thought it would float. It didn't float.
No.
All them guys went down with them tanks.
It's such a waste. It's bad enough getting killed by the enemy, but shoot, not even having a...
But when I got in, they'd already cleaned the beach up.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, they went right to work, and they cleaned that beach up. And got rid of all the minefields and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on in. And see, that's where, I guess, holding me in Fort Meade, I was up many days late, and I got in. I'd have probably got killed had I went and made the landing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what were your orders when you got into that hedgerow stuff? Where were you headed? What were your orders?
Well, we knew where the front was,
No, where was it?
The front was St. Lo.
Uh-huh.
St. Lo, Pierre.
Is that a town in
Yeah,
France?
those are towns. Those are towns.
Mm-hmm.
They were completely demolished. You couldn't tell where the streets were.
They were fighting the Germans back.
Yeah, we were fighting back.
They were retreating.
is that hole, you see, our artillery would just pound the fire out of it. And so they called me up on the first attack. They were going to take, we're going towards Pierre, and so I got that, there I was a sergeant, you see, and I got the first call to take the point. Well, I had to take, here I go, I had to take the point and go on and lead. You got to show your leadership there, you see. Here I was, sticking out there in front. Here we went.
Oh, no.
You can't imagine what a terrible feeling that is. Because you know there ain't nothing out there but some machine guns and rifles. But I was very fortunate. We went right on in there. Had good luck. I think I had one man going in there that day, and he stepped on a landmine, blowed his leg off. And got on in there and got up to a little old a creek. I call it a creek. It was I can't think of the name of it now. But one of the first things that happened, I got a good baptism of fire that day. But one of our tanks got up there, and a German gun hit him and knocked him out and set him on fire. And I had to sit there and watch that thing burn. All the crew burn up in it.
Couldn't help.
Went back there on that trip. I went right back to the place. I went back over there, you know.
Have they rebuilt?
Yeah. But all them, there's some hedgerows, there's still places that dug out. You see where the men dug out around them by the base of those hedgerows. Let's see, come to that, and then so took a pretty good lot of artillery stuff that day. And that night was the worst thing that I've ever seen. So much artillery, everything going on. The German boy, they were trying to get their dead out, and they were trying to get out. And they was putting so much artillery in there, it just lit up the whole world. It was solid light. It just like had a light on. There was so much artillery falling in there. You could see and hear those Germans in there. I didn't know what they were doing that night, you see. Oh, they were squalling, they were hollering. And so the next morning, Lieutenant Hawk told me to take my squad and contact I Company, which is on the right. And I did. I went over there, and that was the awfulest mess I ever seen. You can't imagine. You know, dead and all that. I had been
Germans?
through. Yeah, dead Germans and Americans. There was many dead Americans as was Germans. And some of them, the thing that impressed me more, see, I was in my first real baptism of fire, but the thing that impressed me more was the expression on them dead faces.
Like what was it?
Well,
horror or just?
Well, some of them you see you could see the pain. Another would be just as normal. So never with his hand on his rifle.
Just a horrible thing to have to see, wasn't it?
So I finally come up to an old boy and I said, WWII Company? He said, yeah, that's what's left of them. Boy, that was, so I come on back to Honker and told him everything was okay. And then they started pounding us with mortars. But I was down in the trench. Show you how lucky I was. I was down in the trench, and I could hear that. I could hear that mortar shell hit that plunger on that tube. Ka-thunk. I could hear it. Well, he was going over my head. Every time he shoot, it was going over my head.
You had you a trench.
Well, I was down in there in the trench, but it was full of water. But I was down in it. It didn't make no difference to me. The water was fine with me. I was just getting low as good. And I got through that. So we pulled out. Well, I was going to tell you, when I went over to contact I Company, I went up in those woods where all them Germans been raising as much cane in that. And I heard these big tractors, these tanks. Man, they were pulling, they were tugging. And they had pulled all these knocked out tanks and got them there and just drug them through them dead. you know.
Wow.
Awfulest mess I ever saw. They were retrieving those tanks.
Oh, we just dragged them over the dead
Yeah,
bodies?
they just dug them out of there and got them out of there. I don't know why they did it. It's one of those things, the little things in war, you know. But we went in there and we went on into Pierre. No, I left something out there. Right there was about the time that, right in this same time I wanted to mention, that America, the day before the breakout, they call it the big breakout, they bombed the German lines there with 2,500 bombers, B-17s and B-24s.
In France.
Right there before me, I sat right there and watched it. They killed, I don't know how many, in the 30th Infantry Division, which was there. That's close to St. Louis. They bombed that thing for 4 hours. And I watched it. The earth just jumping. The earth just jumping. And I saw one big bomber they hit, and it just made a big smoke ring. That's the only one I ever saw.
The American bomber?
It was an American bomber, but they had a good 88 a triple threat gun. They could turn it up and shoot for anti-aircraft. They could shoot tank, anti-tank, or any personnel. It was the finest gun it ever made.
It's German gun.
Yeah.
Well, but you only saw one bomber go down.
Yeah.
Well, they must not have been enough of the guns or something.
I don't know. I was sitting in pretty close to the hedge road. I couldn't see just what I could see. But if you read about this, that happened on July the 24th, 1944. You read about it in the history. They just saturated bombed, and that's what caused the breakout. The Germans didn't even know. They tried to organize counterattack, but boy, they couldn't do nothing. Man, we broke out there. They had Patton Hole had all his armor in there, and we just broke out.
So you were under Patton at that time?
Yeah, Third Army. He'd taken over just about that time.
Let's see now. Somebody didn't like him much. A lot of people didn't like him.
There's people that didn't like him, but I'll tell you one thing. I thought he was a great general. He was a combat man. He wasn't no politician. He was a battle general. He believed getting them, and that's the way to fight them. See, you don't want to let the enemy get in behind you. You want to keep him running. He was a smart general. Anyway, after we come in there and we got started. We got over there to Pierre, the town I named this street at down here. We were going to break out, boy, here we was going to go. Well, they brought us up 7, I forget how many tanks they brought up. But they first put me on top of that first, they was going to put us on top of them tanks. He put me and 2 or 3 others, said, no, get back on that second tank. Boy, that's another time I saved my life. Or that first tank hit 2 big teller mines. And it blowed that tank right on. We were going to go, boy, we were going right down this road. And he hit that mine and turned that tank over on a turn, bottom side upwards. That's how powerful
those
mines were. And he pinned, that happened that evening, late that evening, July, sometime in the latter part of July. And so we worked on there, pinned them boys. What didn't kill it, pinned their arms and their bodies on that tank. It's on asphalt too, old asphalt highway. So I had a sergeant by the name of Vanderlaan. He was a great man. He was a battlefield commissioner, and we stayed there and dug them boys out of there. We had a little pickaxe, a little pick about that long, and had a good. And they also had shovels. I had a good shovel about that long, and so we stayed on there and we picked, and medics gave them some blood plasma or something. I know they and we stayed on there and picked it till we got them out of there that night. Thought it was alive. Medics shot them with some dope, and it was way up in the night. We got them out of there, and every time I'd move, the German could see me, he'd shoot at me. You know, every time we had a machine gun there sitting right up the road there. And every time I'd get out my foot or something too far out, he'd try to knock me off. Try to kill me.
While you were digging?
Yeah, he saw us down there on that tank.
Were they as mean and as good soldiers as they said by that time?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it was just their heritage to be that hard a fighter, Germanic people?
Yeah, well, they were been indoctrinated with the Hitler stuff, you know. Ordinarily, they're not that bad, but they've been trained. And,
to be.
See, you just like a young kid, you can take and indoctrinate them, do anything. That's the way they were. They indoctrinated. Hitler was he was a superman of the world, and especially after they had all them victories when they took France and Poland. And nobody gonna stop them. Man, they were plumb cocky, you know. They were. And going with the story.
Yeah.
After we got all these guys out there that night, we put, I forget how many it was, 3 or 4. And that's the hardest job that I ever did. We put them in a blanket. Put a man on each corner of the blanket, carried them. I don't know how far back it fell there. Seemed me like a mile back there to an aid station or something. That's the hardest work I did in my life. You ever try to carry a dead weight on a blanket like that?
No.
Oh, God.
All right. Okay, now we were on, when you dug those men out of the tank.
Yeah.
Out from under the tank.
Yeah, and...
how long was that after you got on the beach at Normandy?
Oh, that was several weeks. That's on up in the... That's getting up close to September. All that happened. We'd broke out and come from St. Lo and Contance and now these names sound funny, but that's the way they're pronounced. And come up to Avalanches up around the Brest, where the Brest Peninsula goes out in the Atlantic, and right there was a big decision with the generals what to do. They didn't know where to keep going towards Paris or turn back and attack those Germans that was in this Brest Peninsula. It was a big decision, kind of, and they didn't want us to bypass a big army of Germans because they would attack us on the flanks. But anyway, we went on. The main point of the Third Army went on towards Paris. That was our objective, and there was kind of a gamble with General Patton where to bypass these pocket of Germans, but we did. We went ahead and he was a gambler and he won. And so we were coming towards a place called Pierre. We come to Mian town. We took there, and that had been Romel's headquarters. And so
Rommel was back in
Rommel,
France.
the Desert Fox. That's where his headquarters was. His big villa there had a big swimming pool and everything.
Was this after he left North Africa?
Yeah, he had taken the German army there to try to combat the invasion. There's a lot of little things there that I've forgotten, but we took some places there. They even had some of the bridges mined, and we took them. They never had time to explode them. You know, had them. They were ready set to blow everything up, and we in the 3rd Armored Division and the 4th Armored Division. They were the old staunches of his, and the 2nd Armored Division. They went so fast that the Germans didn't hardly know what happened. In the meantime, we talk about the Falaise Gap. If you read history, you talk about the Falaise Gap. That was when General Montgomery had the British Army and all these units. The Polish, he had some Polish units, and he had a lot of French people, and he had a lot of different people in Europe that was in his army, and they were in Caen. If you read history, that the Caen, it was a terrible battle for the British, but they finally broke out at Caen, and that's when we inserted them. And my platoon met the Polish soldiers. I don't know what army they were, but I remember we met the Polish army there, Polish army, and closed the gap. Well, there's a lot of little things happen there that is very just little things that happen. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I have to go back and think. But in the process of closing this gap, I thought, you know, we got out there and I thought we was way ahead of everybody else. You know, our company had moved so good. And, boy, I moved out there and I thought I was way ahead. And so we were getting a few rounds of artillery over there, and I jumped, and I seen a hole out there, and I jumped in it. I thought, boy, I'm lucky. I jumped in it, and it was a man with his head blowed off. It had just about his chin, from his chin on up. I got out of that hole. I didn't want that hole, you see.
What kind of soldier was he?
He was an American soldier. He was an American soldier, but his head was blowed off. A shell had hit in that foxhole and just blowed it. Well, I thought, and we were pretty, you know, we were moving ahead, and I thought, boy, how lucky, we was doing real good. Well, we come on up there, see us with a squad. And we were just going in and searching. Then we come to an old farmhouse, and in a little old hedgerow, and we got in there, and we'd already bypassed this place, and 5 Germans came out with their hands up. They could have shot us in the back, see? That's the way it was. They went through these little villages, you searched them out, see if you could find an enemy. And we'd always take one, the first one we'd take to, I knew enough of German, I'd say, Andi ho, Kameraden? Say, where's your Kameraden? Because there's always somebody with them. If you got 1 or 2, there was probably 3 or 4 more with them. So I don't know how many we captured there out of that little old French village, French farm. A Frenchman builds his home over his barn. He keeps his livestock under him, and he keeps a feed all of his hay there right by his house, and he doesn't ever have to go outside to feed his livestock. He just drops his feed down on his cattle, and they eat. He's got his house right over the farm, and he picks up the manure, big manure pile. Almost in every French barn in the farm, there's a big pile of cow manure. He piles it all up in the middle, saves it, and then he puts it on his field, and they have rich farms. Those are little things that I remember. I'm just talking. And then as we go on in, I got out into a big wheat field, pretty wheat field, and we had them trapped. I didn't realize, but we had the Germans. The Germans was in this area. I can't think of the little river there. It's a creek, really. But we had them trapped. Well, come on down there, and we got, we just stopped. We just got down behind some shocks of hay. They began to throw some artillery in us, and I didn't know what this German tank was shooting at, but he was shooting at an American tank right there in 200 yards of me. I didn't know this American tank was there anywhere about it. And in the process, every time, it was getting late in the afternoon, see, that day. And it's a long ways over that hill, where the elevation was higher. From this wheat field, we just sat there and watched them. And this German shot about 5 rounds from that tank, and I was watching this muzzle blast. See, whenever a tank shoots, it's late like that, you can see the fire shoot out of that gun for about 10 feet. And it was this American tanker with the right, and directly that tank fired 1 round and hit that German tank. That's the first time I'd ever seen that. He hit that German tank, and I want to tell you folks, that was a show for me. He hit that tank, and that tank exploded, and you never saw as much smoke and fire come out of the place as it did that tank. Well, I never did forget what I heard, the tanker's language, the little tanker's language. I could hear him, the voice carried real close, Whitfield. He says, "I got the son of a bitch a first round." That's what he said. You know, I felt good about that. So we went on, and in the process, we moved on in, close to this area. And I believe, I'm trying to get where it's the next day or the same day, but maybe it was the next day. Anyway, when we stopped at night, No, it was that night. We come on in there, and there's something I forgot to tell about jumping off of a truck when we got strafed, and my feet was in bad shape, and I was hobbling.
Did you have trench foot or anything?
No, I didn't have that. I jumped off a truck on a cobblestone, and they had to pick me up. But I got where I could hobble along, and I got up. I just barely could move, and I wasn't real active on my feet like I should have been. But I was going to tell you this on account of something happened. We got on up into this area. Well, here come a German tank right barreling on us. We got them dead, so wood makes us squeak, and here come this German tank. And I never fired it. We had bazooka man team to shoot at tanks, see. But I never fired a bazooka. But somehow or another, they said, Sergeant Slack, take this bazooka and get him. Well, they didn't have, the old time, the original bazooka didn't have, it had two flashlight batteries in the stock where you held it, and had a copper wire without the trigger mechanism there. It's like lighting a flashlight. This wire went to that, and when you got that ring ready to fire, they didn't tie that wire around that. It was fairly crude. But and so I got ready, and here come this German tank. Man, I could have spit on him. And I let that thing down and didn't go off, see. I'd have got me a tank. I'd have got me a tank there. And that old German had his sleds down, he had everything down. He didn't know we were there, and he just kept going.
You mean you could see him?
No, I couldn't see him. I had everything, all of his siding slits and his top on his turret down. And he didn't see us, and we didn't see him. He could have stopped and killed us all right there, because he had a machine gun mounted on top of that turret. But his boy, he hightailed it on in the woods. And I had a hard luck some places and had good luck in others. So you got to remember, you can't be 100% lucky all the time, and that's the way that was. Yeah, and little incidents happened in there. And moving up, and I got my timing. Moving up, and here come General McLean. He was a fine general. He was the general that really put the 90th Division in motion. That had the 90th Infantry Division, they had trouble with leadership, top leadership, and they sacked about 3 or 4 generals before they got General McLean. And General McLean had fought in North Africa with General Patton, and that's when we got the 90th Division rolling. But he came up there one evening, and I can't place just how. And he stood right up there, and they threw that out there, and I admired him. He was a brave man. And the artillery came in there, and that's the first time I ever had flesh just thrown all over me, you know. But somehow or another, that evening, artillery shell hit somewhere in our company, some men there, and it flowed human flesh all over me. And I've always wondered how that happened. I never did ask no questions or look back. Kept going. But we got on up in there in them woods after this little ordeal, and here was a whole bunch of Germans out in a clump of woods. Well, those that could speak any German at all hollered and told them to surrender, you know. Well, their leaders, those Germans would do what their leaders said. You know, as they had a leader, they were under control. But they ran, and when they ran, we started shooting them, trying to kill them. And I don't know how many we killed and how many we wounded. But it was after dark. And we had some good medics. Had one of the best medics I ever seen. And of course, they wounded a bunch of them, and they hollered. Those Germans begged for mercy, and we didn't pay no attention to it. And the medics, and we went on in there and then settled down for the night, put out our outposts, and boy, the things was beginning to smell pretty bad. And them medics worked, I don't know how long that night, getting those wounded Germans out of there. They got what they could out. But if they hadn't have ran, we would have never fired a shot at them, I don't guess. But when they ran to us Americans, well, we just started knocking them off like pigeons.
But our medics tried to help the wounded
Oh yeah,
Germans?
oh yeah.
Do you think they did that for us?
The Germans would, yeah. If there's a German medic up there and he could, he would. The frontline troops had a lot more feeling for one another than a lot of folks think, you know, in the front lines. But we had a good medic. He was the finest medic I ever seen. Never seen him after I got captured. His name was Woods. He was from Georgia. Going from here, the little town of, gosh, I wouldn't have thought I'd forgotten that. Where was that, Davina? You know, I found all that money in this. I'm trying to think of that.
Did you go back there?
Yeah, back there. Anyway, we just settled down for the night. And the next morning, we took in a position beside the road, you see. And lo and behold, here come, and we had tanks. Our tank battalion had just sitting in there too, just like we were, you see, in this little town. I wished I could think of it now, but I can't.
Curry?
The town where you got sick, you couldn't enjoy it. But there was a building blown down there, and there was a fall with just big stacks of money, French francs.
Oh, gosh. It was the bank, huh?
Yeah. Now that was after, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, we sitting there beside this road, and here come a German tank destroyer, and he had, it was just stacked full of Germans on top. Well, our bazooka man was right there by me. The man should have had the bazooka the evening before and killed that tank. He hit that German tank, that tank destroyer, with all them, this tank destroyer went down there and he made a circle. He went down there where some of our men would, and didn't nobody fire a shot at him. And they were just a jabbing. They were just a jabbing German. And he went down there and come back, and circle back, and he come back. Nobody fired a shot. They got down there and the old bazooka boy hit him. And the concussion of that explosion when it hit that tank destroyer, it lifted me off the ground, you see. The first thing, and those Germans started, when it didn't kill them, they started running. When it did, we started killing them, you see. Mm-hmm. And
now, there was a tank destroyer?
It was a German tank destroyer. The Germans had a vehicle that was called a tank destroyer too. It wasn't a tank, but it was fixed with a high-powered gun, about a 90-millimeter gun to destroy a tank. I don't know why they did, but they did that. The Americans had one called a DC-10 or something like that. It was a tank destroyer. But those Germans, they didn't know we was anywhere around. We just sat in a little old ditch right beside the road. When you hit that tank destroyer, it just lifted me off the ground. It was such an explosion, and we started killing. And that's when we met the day, that morning. We met the Polish troops.
Now they were fighting for Hitler.
The Polish troops were fighting for England. They were the Free Poland.
Oh.
They were Poland that escaped out of Poland and fighting with England with the British Army.
So you knew that you were going to meet up with these people?
No, we didn't know who we was going to meet up with. But I got it on record out there in them books. I can show you just exactly. It's got a record of everything. But then the red of the things went to heaven after that. The Germans, the Germans, they started throwing artillery in on all these Germans that were trapped. We were right down there in the middle of it, and the shells, our own artillery shells, would come in and they would just flutter. When a artillery shell flutters, boy, you better get out of the way. It's right on you. When you hear that thing sounds like a muffler on a car, you better look out, because that thing is close to you. And so we called back. It got so bad we called back to our artillery communication and says, hold, pull that stuff up, says, it's right on top of us. And he said, so we got the word back, says, we're doing so much good we can't but shoot. So they let them come on in, and these Germans started coming across this creek. Thousands of them. We captured German that day. They all had them a little white flag, and I did not know where they got all that white cloth. But each one of them, he was, and brother, American artillery is terrible. Any German will tell you that our artillery was terrible. And those guys come across there, and we'd take them, and they were shaking, and they just might near wonder. They just wanted somebody just to do anything with them. So we'd take them, and most of them had gotten rid of their weapons. They didn't have any weapons. And they'd already thrown their weapons in the creek, and they just chugged off in that water and come on over. And we captured so many Germans that day, we didn't have any way hard to control them, only to round them up and just hold them. Put them back there somewhere in the safe keeping back of us a little ways. We had 7 German tanks that got in behind us that evening. Well, I didn't know it. We had 7 German tanks that got in around behind us. And it hadn't been for our armor, they'd have took us. But that's how close we were fighting.
Now, how many miles were you into France from that beach when you...
Oh, we were probably 100 miles. We were way on in France then. It Falaise. And Chambois is the name of this town. Chambois.
I knew you'd think of it.
So that evening, when all this was over, captured, all this artillery, which surrounded all these Germans and all their equipment. Horses, you never saw so many horse-drawn wagons.
They were down to their last...
No, it was normal. It was a German army. All their artillery pieces and a lot of their supplies were furnished by wagons. Horses, the prettiest horses you ever saw. And they was horses, and a lot of them, maybe 16 to one artillery piece. And they'd killed some of them dead, some of them wounded, some of them still alive. Now, I never failed to tell about that. How many horses they were there and how many wounded. A terrible mess it was. And all these German tanks and vehicles were exploding. All these, they were burning. You never smelt such a mess. Well, I'll let you read what it says and what Eisenhower said about it. Those shells would make the funniest noise. I'll never forget how they go, wing, 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 all this going everywhere. All these old shells burning and exploding in them tanks. And boy, it was a mess. Well, we pulled out of there. Late that in, when the battle was over, when we captured all the Germans that come across there, and I don't know how many hundred. They marched those Germans out of there as far as I could see in a column of 5 or 4 or 5, just as far across that wheat field, just as far as you could see with Germans marching them back, you know.
Back to the headquarters?
Back to our lines, trying to get them back there.
What would they do with them when they got them?
Oh, they were just prisoner of war. They just kept them. They shipped a lot of them to the United States, you know. Yeah. They shipped them back, and they did jobs back in the United States. They shipped boatloads of them. But I was going to say, I come to this old blowed up building there in Chambois, and there was a big stack of money. It was a whole lot of money. It was a truckload of money.
So did you send?
Yeah. So I just got me the motherboard didn't even pick it up, you see. So I got me a big package of that money. And there's a lot of francs in it, you know, and so I just pass it out to everybody who wants some. And so when the battle's over that night, we moved down to they moved us down to a big horse stable. That was big, that's big horse country. Now you talk about growing horses. Right in there they grow, the Frenchman is like, I guess, the Kentucky Bluegrass, because they got lots of horses. Fine horse stable there. I had never stayed in a place that night in a long time. And that's when my feet would still give me trouble, and
Do you think you sprained your feet when you jumped
oh,
off
sure,
that truck?
sure. But I got some salt. So the British unit was there and had cooked there, and I got some salt for him, and he made me some hot salt water, and I had sense enough to soak my feet in hot salt water, and got me where I could walk. Did that, and I stayed there 2 or 3 days, and we right there with the British. That's the only time I ever used a hand grenade. We were standing there, and one night I heard something out there, and I thought it was a German slipping up on me, and I threw a hand grenade out there. That's wasn't even so help, but I'll tell you, I didn't know they would clean the ground as good as they did. They just a hand grenade just stripped the ground of everything. There was nothing.
Now, were they those little ones
Yeah,
like they
yeah,
still look like
pineapple,
that now?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I saw a picture of German hand grenades that were mushrooms, they called them.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why theirs were shaped different.
Well, German's just smarter. He knew how to. It was probably better. What they call that German hand grenade? Potato masher.
Potato masher, not a
Yeah,
mushrooms.
yeah, it was a potato masher.
Potato masher.
Well, ours, once you pull that pin on it, you got. If you don't put that pin back in there, you got to get rid of it. See?
I guess they had that handle for throwing. It was a good
Yeah.
potato masher.
Anyway, there's a lot of history in this, what I'm telling you about, but you'd have to read all the things that we didn't do there. We should have captured about 100-something thousand more Germans there than we did. They slipped out and got out of the trap during the night. But I had this money, and I stayed with the British, and I give British some money, and I give everybody some money, and come to find out they were cashing in as worth what it was written. You know, if it was a 10-pound franker, it was worth that. They cashed them in. Them guys, the rear echelon people, got them and cashed them in. Now I didn't wound up with nothing. That was good old me. I'd give them all out. And so after that we left, and by that time, see, after this trap, our main, the 3rd Army point tanks had already gone on to Paris. So we had to catch up. We had to play catch up. And we crossed the Seine River north of Paris at Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau. That's where we took off across there. I don't know where Reims. I don't know where Reims is. We crossed Reims, went to Reims, and the big cathedral at Reims. The first thing I noticed across that wheat field is a big, tall cathedral. Boy, that is something.
It was still there, huh?
Yeah, and now it got tore up in World War I. It got tore up in 1939, and it got a lot of damage in 1944. And the Rockefellers have rebuilt it. But Lavina and I went through it when we went over there last time, and it's something. From there, it went from Fontainebleau, and we headed. We were just trying to catch up with our armor. And the next little place we stopped was a place called Rethel, France, and it was just before you get into the what's that beautiful valley there, Meuse Valley. It's so pretty, awful pretty country. And we come there at Rethel, and we bivouacked there. We run out of gasoline, and we bivouacked there by a cemetery that had the graves of Germans of World War I and the Germans that got killed in 1939 when they invaded France, and the one that just buried the ones that got killed in Normandy. A lot of them, wherever they got killed, there was 3 sets of crosses. I remember that. There was 3 sets of crosses. And there was a big potato patch out there, so we eat a lot of French fries right out there. But the town of Rethel was completely destroyed. Well, we stayed there till we got some gasoline. And then they moved us towards Metz in Alsace-Lorraine. And that's where I got the pictures of David when he was a baby. There's a lot of things happened that day. That was on up in about October. We stopped the Germans. We were trying to go as fast as we could, and the Germans was coming back trying to see how strong we were. Well, in the process, they got into our division CP that night with tanks and raised havoc with our CP. There we were up in front, and we didn't know what was going on in the rear. Well, I like fruit. I didn't always, if I saw a big fine fruit tree or something, some peaches or something, if I got a chance, I'd try them out. But I was out there under a big prune tree, the finest prunes you ever seen that day. And it wasn't much danger, you know, just everything was in good shape. And here come one German tank. This was a Panther tank, great big old Panther tank. Well, the 106th Cavalry was with us, and they had 3 Jeeps stacked on parked on one side of the road, and we had about 4. That German tank run over every one of those Jeeps.
Really?
Yeah, sure. He run over every one of them, and an old boy had a bazooka, and he fired at him, and he hit one bogey wheel on that tank, and it rolled out in the ditch, and it was hot. It burnt the grass out there. Well, I was on the prune tree, and I ran back up there, see where our platoon leader was, and this 106th Cavalry group was in an M8 armored car. He'd been up in the wrecking order in the next town and lost a crew up there. There's some Germans up in that next town, and they killed 1 or 2 of his men. Well, he came back down there in his M8 armored car. All he had was a 37mm gun on his little gun about like that. Really obsolete. And here come another tank, barreling through. And this little lieutenant says, "Fire 1 round at that son of a bitch and let's get out of here." He fired that 1 round, and this is true. He fired that at that German tank, and it just splintered the muzzle back. It went right down the muzzle, that 75, 88 on that tank, on that Panther tank. Just splintered the muzzle back and went in there and killed everything in there except one little old German.
Got all the way down that.
Yeah, when he went in there, that's death. But I don't know how that one German
would just go like that.
And I don't know how that one little German got out of there, but he was burnt all over here. And that little lieutenant had that cavalry lieutenant had a submachine gun, and he just mowed him down right there.
He'd lost his men.
Yeah. Well, right after, I got to look at this German tank that he hit, knowing it was burning. Well, that old tank had anti-magnetic paste on it. The Germans would, they claimed that helped. I don't think it did, but it was that old tank. It had bumps big as your fist all in it, where big shells that hit it and never penetrated it. I looked it over good, you know. And they had magnetic paste. That's one time I got to look at one, and he had anti-magnetic paste all over it. It looked like a plaster. It plastered it and took a brush and just camouflaged.
Did they think that repelled
Yeah.
shells?
Mm-hmm. Had something to cause the shell to glance off.
Oh.
So it had something that's supposed to anti-magnetic. But that's just little things. I'm just telling you about little things.
Yeah.
Then right after that, we got our mail, and I got the picture of David as a baby. I got the first notice that he was born. And he was born in July, and it was way up about September, October before I got that letter.
Gosh, it's a wonder they could find you to give it.
Yeah, I don't know how they ever found us. Anyway, go on. So after that, we moved on out. You see, the Germans are still trying to figure out where we was at. And they didn't know where we was at, and we didn't know where they was at. So that evening, we had our artillery in the convoy, and we was moving on towards Met. Somebody spotted a whole convoy of Germans, horse-drawn equipment, going up the road. Well, they just stopped our artillery and put her in place and went to shelling. I don't know how many they killed. They just slaughtered them. Well, about that same time, I saw a B-17, just telling about how little things I see. I mean, I saw a B-17 circling around. I said, lo and behold, what is a B-17 circling around up in this area? But
That's the flying fortress.
Yeah.
Right? The bomber.
So we came on up, as we moved on up, here come, here sat that big old B-17 sitting out in the turnip field. I said, my goodness. So we went up there and we thought we'd find some Americans. Got up there and there wasn't a soul in that B-17. All the parachutes are sitting there, and the Germans, I guess, took them. Took those men out, and they didn't realize we was right there and just a few hundred yards of them. And
you think the Germans got the plane?
the plane, they couldn't get the plane, they just got the men.
Oh, after it landed.
It landed. If I don't know how many men was in the plane when it landed, but he'd been on a raid on back to England, you see, and they just had to land the plane, whoever it was. They were trying to get it back to England because there was big bombing raids going on in Germany at that time. You see, there was lots of German.
So that plane just got left there.
He just sat there. We just went on. Some of the boys wanted we'd cut that parachute up and make necklaces out of them. You know, cut them parachutes, and they were pretty silk. We just make necklaces out of them. That was just something I. And then some of them put them in the foxhole that night and slept on silk.
Yeah, I bet that felt good.
But now we're going on. We're going towards that area. Got in there, and there's there were a lot of coal mines in the Alsace range. So they gave us they let us stop, and we went into where the showers of this coal mine, and give us a shower and new clothes. That's the first time I changed clothes since June.
And that was what
I had got new clothes. I felt so good.
How many months was that you wore the same clothes?
You know what? July, August, September, October, about 4 months. And they would, you know, just muddy. We didn't borrow too much mud. We're just getting up to season where it was, the sea fixing to get cold and rainy and snowy. That's when it set in. Then we went on to Metz. And Metz is a city in that area that was fought over from the Franco-Prussian War from 1818. It's about the time just before our Civil War, American Civil War started. They had a war there with German and France there. And France is surrounded by about 20 big forts. Big, huge forts that's got moats all around them and barbed wire entanglement, all kind of gun emplacements. And if France had them, when the Germans took them in 1939, they turned them guns around towards the west. They built some new places and emplacements in there and put guns pointing on us. Well, we came to this, finally came to this place, a little place called Gravelot. It's on. And That's where we stopped. Well, I thought, well, this will be the last of me. I won't make it much farther, because I knew that if we went to take those forts, they took us back and they trained us with Bangalore torpedoes. Hey, that's a long pipe deal, snake deal, where you can shove it in and blow it up. It just blows up all the barbed wire, anything in place. You say Bangalore torpedoes, that's explosive. They set it off. You just shove it. They just put it on a tank and just shove it into a way out in front of it. It hooks on just joints, and you shove it up into a place you want to go into. You want to, like a bunch of barbed wire entanglements and things like that you want to get through, and it just blows everything out of the way. And they took it back there and trained us on that. And there was the first time that I ever had those big railroad guns to shoot at us. They had some big railroad guns over there. I don't know what size, but they were bigger than that, big guns. And they were shooting. I forget how many. Yeah. And they had some tunnels over there, and they'd bring them out and shoot us. And I said, Lord, I'll never make this. I remember we had one old boy that shot himself in the hand back there. And he would do it.
On purpose?
Yeah, sure. Because we wasn't supposed to have any ammunition in our chambers of rifle. We were practicing runs on this fort, but we wasn't supposed to have any ammunition in our chambers of rifle. I'll tell you about this fella later on. This happened before that. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, up there, says Sergeant Slack, went out here on the outpost. So we went out there in some woods, down in a deep ravine, where this old Franco-Prussian battlefield was. There's all kind of monuments down in there, you see. Nice monuments all down there. You can go there today and it's there. It's called, and I'll show you a picture of it. Well, I took my patrol and we went out there in some woods. You know, it'd been there 1,000 years, forest. And you couldn't dig a hole. Anywhere you tried to dig a foxhole, so many roots, you could not dig a hole. Anyway, we were there, and it was raining, muddy. Whew. And the Germans patrol knew we were in there. They saw it, we was in there. Well, they shelled us good. I don't know how long they did. Well, I remember I just stuck my head down in what hole I had and just didn't just gritted my teeth, because they sure did shell us. And I had an old boy with me, and the lieutenant had told me, he says, you will stay here till I come get you. You stay here till I come get you. Well, this old boy went berserk. And that's not the first time that happened. He went berserk and he says, Sergeant Slack, and he ready to throw the tantrum. Says, get us out of here, says you're going to get us all killed. Says, nobody left. You're the sorriest sergeant I ever see in the army. All that jazz, you know. I said, we're going to stay here till they come get us. You just settle down. And I felt like shooting him. I felt like killing him. And he's the one that shot himself in the hand. So we went back, we put us out of line, put us up there in this area to train to assault these big, Fort Genie Ark there in front of Metz. And he got him some wine, and he got to feeling pretty good. And he come around and apologized to me. You see? Well, that didn't make any difference to me, but he was yelling. That guy was, there's guys up there that's yellow. Don't think they're just good old brave boys. There's guys up there that's yellow. And the sergeant, if he ain't a sergeant, if he can't take leadership, it just was to break him, put him back in the bottom. But like I told someone I was talking to, John Taylor, somebody has to take the bull by the horn and say, boy, we're going to get him. We're going to stay here. And you yeller son of a bitch, I'll kill you if you try to run. Somewhere down the line, that's what it takes. It don't make any difference They're not all brave. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not so brave. I would have got braver probably, and got killed, and I would have. Because I got more experience on my belt. My lieutenant was a battlefield commission, got killed. And you look at most of the Grays over there, they're sergeants. Lots of them are sergeants. Somebody has got to show that leadership at a time when it's got to be. It doesn't make any difference. Because there's lots of yellow people up there. They've got a yellow stripe down the back. They ain't gonna fight. Now don't ever kid. There's a lot of good stories, but that's one story that they don't ever tell much, but that's true.
No, I haven't heard much about that.
No, you never hear nothing about it. But somewhere there's got to be leadership. There's got to be somebody that takes it and go.
Well, I've wondered why in Vietnam, how they ever got anybody to fight, because the morale was so bad.
They had men over there. They had men that did that. They come out of leadership in crisis. They had leadership. That's right. That's right. Anyway, let's go on with the story. So at Gravelot, we're getting up close to Metz, and so we got orders one day, the main line of resistance, and they were going to throw artillery, and they did. We were going to move out at it was the Army time is 12, 13, 14 hours. So I smoked at that time, and I got back in there, and boy, smoked me up a cigarette and got ready. We got back there in an old building, an old cemetery right there back. We went right to it. Levine and I went right to it. And boy, that was the best cigarette I ever smoked in my life. I'd get tense. So here we go. They said, Sergeant Slack, you're going to take the lead squad. Well, I got out on that road going down there, deep ravine. And they throw that artillery right, and I learned that I want the artillery right over my head. As time goes on, you learn all these things. I want the artillery right over, if I go and attack, I want the artillery right over my head. That cleans everything out in front of you, see?
Yeah.
So they did, and we went in there, and I went down this road towards Metz, and the Germans had blowed trees. Oh, they had, I guess, had trees on the side of the highway over France. They blowed these trees across the highway, and we just had to jump over these trees and went through the track. And I couldn't, and come find out that on each side of the road was minefields, just thousands of mines. So that morning, about 3 or 4 o'clock, here we go down there, and I was the lead man. And we jumped over those trees. We just keep jumping, hopping over. We got up there at that hill, and run into there was a German outpost up there, and we got in there, and they didn't know. Most of them didn't know we were there. We captured, I don't know how many. But in one little incident happened there. This Metz was a training school for the SSS troops, you see, and they had a lot of them fanatics. And there was one down that rock where, so we come up on this. I don't know how come us do, but we come up there where the Germans' fire came from, and took them Germans. In the process, there's one of them SS officers didn't kill him, but he hit one of my men in the leg right behind me. He popped just like you'd have fired a shotgun. I wheeled around and I shot at him 8 times, and I never did kill him. I know of, and that fellow by the name of Peterson killed him. But he wore a monocle. He wore a tonic. He was a real high-powered SS. We stayed there in that rock quarry there, just below Fort Jeanne Arc, and I don't know how long. But right across the highway was on there was a main road going into Metz there. There's a old barn. It's called St. Hubert's Farm. And them Germans would get up in there and snipe at us, you see. I saw him kill a boy one day from C Company stood up out there and he killed him. A sniper killed him. I didn't realize who it was at the time, but it was C Company of 359 was right across the road from us. And they're still in there where all these old monuments was. I don't know why they put all them monuments there after the Franco-Prussian War. But little things happen, you know. So we stopped there. We didn't hold in position, and they didn't. We was run out of gasoline, and Patton and them, they was trying to figure out where to take these forts and all. And they finally decided not to do it. I was so glad they didn't. And we were sitting there one evening in our holes. There was German tanks sitting up there about 300 or 400 yards. I mean, every once in a while you'd shoot down there, but we knew better not to get out there because we respected him. We knew he'd shoot at us if we got a chance. So when he walked an old boy, had an Air Force. He was an Air Force. He says, "What the hell are you doing up here, fella?" He says, "Oh, I'm looking for souvenirs." Yeah. We captured these Germans and we thrown all this paraphernalia out there, all their old packs and bayonets and rifles, throw them out there. And never thought nothing about it, you know. He says, "Can I have some of them?" He says, "Yeah."
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, take all you want, but I'll tell you one damn thing, you better not get out in the middle of that, out there on that road. That highway says that German tank sitting right up there. And so he took all that old junk we'd taken off them Germans and went off back down there. And never did know where he come from or nothing.
Wagons loot.
Yeah, and right down where they had to walk down the side road was a doggone minefield. If you stepped out, it'd get blow to kingdom come. And they had it marked with this white tape, you see. Because we lost, we had one fellow that got it, just stepped outside and killed him. And you know, back there, one of the things I remember a lot about that, our company CP was back there 300 or 400 yards back in another old rock quarry down there.
What is a CP?
Company command post.
Oh.
That's where they bring you mail, they bring you water and rations, and then they have to detail has to go back through them trails and bring them back up at night. But also, you run a line back then. You had to run a line for sound power telephone. We had a little old telephone. It's a little wire about the size of a doorbell cable wire. Small wire, but it comes on a spool, and they never pick it up. You know, just if you move up, they just roll it out and hook it up, and you got a telephone to talk to the CP back there. Yeah. That's only communication an infantry platoon has got. And I remember, and I was real lucky there, because my job a lot of times when the artillery, they throw mortars in there, the Germans throw mortars in there, they blow that wire in two. It'd be raining, muddy. And the only way that you could tie that wire back together was just take it in one hand and just go along, feed yourself along till you find where that wire blowed in two. Well, I don't remember, I think I had some tape or something. I don't know where you even had tape, but I knew how to go where I could tie that wire together. I knew how to tie that, when I found where it blowed to, tie that wire together so we'd have a telephone. Right down there was one little thing I remember. There was a Jeep hit them mines down there. You got in them minefield, and I never saw a Jeep tore up as bad. I remember a field glass case just blow to all the pieces. Little things I remember, you see. That was called the Gravelot Draw, and it was a battleground of the Franco-Prussian War, and I'll show you something. I want to show it to you after a while. Okay. Well, from there, we were Metz, all right? You're going down, and that's where the Moselle River starts. That's a big river over there in that country. It's not very big there in Metz. but it goes on down to the Rhine River and comes into the Rhine River down there at Frankfurt on the Main, somewhere in Frankfurt or in big cities down there. So Patton was making some changes in these lines and moved us up the, who is that?
Shannon.
Come on in, Shannon.
So
I was
they
hoping
take,
that was that girl.
so we
Or did you see it, get it going
they
again?
moved us on up towards Steinville, up in that area, on down the Moselle River. Just overnight, boy, just took us and loads up. So I say, what's up, boy? I got to wondering. Well, what they did, they just put us all up there in some woods, and said we're gonna cross the Moselle here, and it was raining and muddy, and we was up here in a high place, and there you could see that all that valley, boy, just as pretty. The river running, angling through there, and then mountains on the other side. So that morning, it was raining and muddy, and I was anxious to get something going. I didn't want to stay there. The way I'd try to keep dry, I'd take my overcoat and I'd just wrap it around a tree and throw it over my head before it could draw all the dampness off of me. I could. But they had brought the engineers up there, and they had trying to build a bridge across this river. They were supposed to have this bridge built for us to cross that river. And when we got down there, get ready the next morning, they'd killed, I don't know how many engineers, and blowed up the bridges, and we couldn't get across. So they gave us about 6 men on each side, a big old salt boat. We carried that down to the river. The river was pretty wide then. And we carried it down to the river, and we got in there, and so many engineers went with us and gave us paddles, and we paddled ourselves across that river. Went across that river, I don't know how many boat loads of us. And we had all the ammunition we could carry, and the water was just about to carry us under. But we got across that river, and it was rising real fast, and took off from there. And boy, the German artillery couldn't hit us there because they had to fire over those mountains. And the trajectory of that artillery would go right ahead and then go to the next mountain, hit these guys over there. So we kept on going. I had real good luck that day. They had a bunch of Germans down there. This place was called Curling. And we had good luck and went right on up